Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jayam Vishwabad, Paramahansa Pavitrakacharya, Asajota Tishishi Vadisvante.
Yeah, I can sit here. Oh, okay. I might have a minute getting up. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay, my love. Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janabalabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janabalabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janabalabha Girivaradari Oh Gopi Janabalabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Kalachanji Radha Kalachanji Radhe Jaya Radha Kalachanji Radha Kalachanji Radhe Oh, Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Gauranga Mahaprabhu Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai Om Gyanatimanandasya Garanjana Shalakaya Chakshunu Militam Gena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Nobistam Tapitam Gena Bhutale Swayam Upakaramayam Dadanti Swam Padantikam Namo Vishnuvanaya Krishna Messiah Bhutale Srimate Namo Krishna Goswaminiti Namane. Me offer my obeisances unto my beloved spiritual master. I pray to all the devotees and my Gurudev that I can say something that might be worth hearing. Namo Vishnuvanaya Krishna Messiah Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nevishe Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're reading today from Canto 10, 14, what is it, 47, I believe, through 55. And 55 is the focus verse. So before we read the verse, I thought I would just, I saw a note that today was Sri Baladev's Rasa Yatra. And so this is a very beautiful pastime, because we can understand that Baladev, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the brother of Sri Krishna, and Krishna has his pastimes in autumn, and Baladev has his Rasayatra during Chaitra, or spring. And so this is a lovely pastime where Krishna he had killed, how you pronounce it? Sankachuda, I believe. So he was not present. He was doing his Kshatriya duties in Dwarka. So Baladev has these wonderful pastimes. He has his own specific gopis, and it says he has thousands and thousands of gopis. Sometimes they even say millions of gopis that are his specific gopis for his specific pastime. So these are very loving conjugal affairs that he has with his gopis in the forest of Vrindavan, and the moon is full, and they have their beautiful pastimes and dances together. There's a few things that happen, right? Who puts the Varuni in the tree? Anyone has that understanding? Varuni Devi puts the Varuni in the tree, which is a transcendental, intoxicating beverage that Baladev, Sri Balaram, and he shares with all of his gopis. So they're in bliss. They're feeling ecstatic and spiritual intoxication, even maybe physical intoxication. They're feeling bliss. So then what happens is he wants to bathe in the Yamuna with his beloved gopis. And he calls Yamuna, and she will not come. She's being headstrong. She will not come. So what does Balaram do? He takes his plow and he pulls the Yamuna. He humbles her. And then she comes and prays to him, "Oh, please forgive me for all of offenses." But nonetheless, now there are different streams of Yamuna Devi, right? So it's a very beautiful and special pastime for the spring. And Shri Baladev ki jai, Baladev Rasamrita ki jai. I thought I would share that just a little bit. And so I have my verses here. If anyone would like to begin, we're starting with 10, 14, 47, I believe.
Lord Krishna's transcendental body was decorated with peacock feathers and flowers, and painted with forest minerals, and his bamboo flute loudly and festively resounded. As he called out to his calves by name, his cowherd boyfriends purified the world by chanting his glories. Thus Lord Krishna entered the cow pasture of his father Nanda Maharaj, and the sight of his beauty at once produced a great festival for the eyes of all the cowherd women.
So there was a song that we used to sing with our children. It has to do with this pastime. It says, Krishna, Krishna, let's go play. Go into the forest. Sound upon your flutes and horn. Bring the cows before us. We'll be happy seeing you. Krishna's beautiful and blue. Hari, Hari, Bo. So we remember these songs for the kids. We would sing. Okay, it's a beautiful pastime that Krishna is decorated with his beautiful flowers. You could envision the Supreme Lord going in with his bare feet, and his mother, right, was always anxious. Oh, Krishna, the thorns will hurt your feet. Oh, Krishna, and he's, no, this is my duty. This is my duty as a Vaishya. I will go and tend the cows with my bare feet. And we can just visualize how beautiful Krishna is with forest flowers. The cowherd boys have decorated him with forest flowers and painted him gorgeously. So it's like a festival for the eyes and the sound also. Okay, that's text 48.
As the cowherd boys reached the village of Raja, they sang, Today Krishna saved us by killing a great serpent. Some of the boys described Krishna as the son of Yashoda and others as the son of Nanda Maharaj.
Yes, and so in the purport, we've read these pastimes before, how Lord Krishna had killed the demon Aghasura, right? And the boys thought it was great fun. They thought they would go in and play inside of that big Aghasura demon. And what did Krishna do? He jumped in and expanded himself, right? So also, when we were living in Berkeley, we were living in Tiburon in California, and Berkeley was our home temple. And every Sunday they would do these amazing dramas and plays. There were even some devotees that had marionettes. They would do these amazing pastimes of Krishna. The Aghasura demon, they had a long, it had wires in it with paper around it, and it was filled with balloons. And the boys ran out, and the balloons scattered everywhere. So it was beautiful. They would do all these wonderful cultural presentations there. Okay, next verse.
King Pariksit said, O Brahmana, how could the cowherd women have developed for Krishna, someone else's son, such unprecedented pure love they never felt even for their own children? Please explain this.
Yeah, so he's wanting to understand. We read these pastimes also, how in the we have that picture there of Lord Brahma coming down to steal the cows and the boys, and then Krishna expands himself, as we've read, all the cows and all the cowherd boys, and so he's asking Krishna about this particular pastime, how the residents of Vrindavan, the mothers, and even the mother cows with their calves felt so unalloyed love because they were all expanses of Krishna. So that's the ultimate reason for that pastime. Everyone wanted to have Krishna as their son. So, okay, the next verse.
Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, for every created being, the dearmost thing is certainly his own self. The dearness of everything else, children, wealth, and so on, is due only to the dearness of the self.
So if we look at this purport just briefly, these are all by the glorious, empowered disciples, all of these verses and purports of Srila Prabhupada. And it's explaining in the verse that the living entity serves his nation. He serves, as Prabhupada has said this in so many ways, his society, family, and friends. And it's expansion of our false ego, our false conception. And to transcend this conception of the false ego that's been carrying us since time immemorial, there's only one way, and that's called bhakti yoga. That's called the devotion of love. That's called devotional service. Putting fire to ignite that bhakti lata bij that has been ignited by our spiritual master. So anyway, the next verse is it's 51, isn't it? Are we on text 51? Yes. Does anyone have a mic or?
For this reason, O best of kings, the embodied soul is self-centered. He is more attached to his own body and self than to his so-called possessions like children, wealth, and home.
This is a really powerful purport. So I'd like to comment a little bit on it because in this verse he's saying, the embodied soul is self-centered. They feel more important to their body than their children, their wealth. So it's a very powerful purport that's been written by these disciples of Srila Prabhupada. He says, it's the common practice all over the world for a mother to kill her own child in the womb if the birth of the child represents an inconvenience. So, similarly, growing children eagerly place their elderly parents in lonely institutions rather than be inconvenienced by the presence at home. Now, does this often happen? I'm wondering for those that are from India here, does this happen in India? Or do the elderly parents usually stay in the home with the family? It has started in India as well. Yes, the influence of the West is spread all over the planet, isn't it? So, right. So anyway, they talk about I-ness, I, me, mine. I've been perusing a book by George Harrison I've had for years. It's called I, me, mine. Great devotee of the Lord. So anyway, Prabhupada commented in many places how horrific this was, that even the animals, don't abort their own children. They protect their children, even in animal life. So somehow or other, things have become very degraded. Because of these practices and because of the millions and millions of cows and animals that are slaughtered, this is the cause of war. We're going through that war right now, which is pretty intense. Okay, next verse. That's 1450.
Indeed, for persons who think body is the self, O best of kings, those things whose importance lies only in their relationship to the body are never as dear as the body itself.
Okay. Text 53.
If a person comes to the stage of considering the body mine instead of me, he will certainly not consider the body as dear as his own self. After all, even as the body is growing old and useless, one's desire to continue living remains strong.
Therefore, it is his own self that is most dear to every embodied living being, and it is simply for the satisfaction of this self that the whole material creation of moving and non-moving entities exists.
Hare Krishna. So text 55. I could just read the Sanskrit and then we can all repeat. Krishna menam avate tvam atmananam akilatmanam jagataitaya shopritra Devaha bhuti mayaya Krishna manam avaite avahitvam atmanam akilatmanam Jagatayatya Sopiyatra Devhi Havati Mayaya. Anyone would like to read? Krishna manama vehitam Akmanam akilatmanam Jakidaitya Sopyatra Devi Abhati Mayaya. Krishna nama vehitvam Atmanam akilatmanam Jagati ayate Sopatra Dehi Bhati Mayaya. Krishna eva vehitvam Atmanam akilatmanam Jagatyatya Shipupatra Devi Vataya Mayana. So we can Krishna manama vihitam Atmanam akilatmanam Jagataya Sopyatra Devi Vati Mayaya. So we can say the word for word together. Krishnam, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Enam, this. Avihi, try to understand. Tvam, you. Atmanam, the soul. Akila Atmanam, of all living entities. Jagat Hitaya, for the benefit of the whole universe. Sha, he. Api, certainly. Atra, here. Dehi, a human being. Eva, like. Abhati, appears. Mayaya, by his internal potency. Again, these are the translations by the empowered disciples of Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. You should know Krishna to be the original soul of all living entities. For the best of the whole universe, he has, out of his causeless mercy, appeared as an ordinary human being. He has done this by the strength of his internal potency. Let's just read this again together. You should know Krishna to be the original soul of all living entities. For the benefit of the whole universe, he has, out of his causeless mercy, appeared as an ordinary human being. He's done this by the strength of his internal potency. In purport, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 20, text 162, Srila Prabhupada comments in this verse as follows, quote, Parikshit Maharaj asked Sukadev Goswami why Krishna was so beloved by the residents of Vrindavan, who loved him more, even more than their own offspring or itself, unquote. At this time, Sukadev Goswami replied that everyone's Atma, or soul, is very, very dear, especially to all living entities who have accepted material bodies. However, that Atma, that spirit soul, is part and parcel of Krishna. And for this reason, Krishna is very dear to every living entity. Everyone's body is very dear to oneself, and one wants to protect the body by all means. Why? Why? Because within the body, the soul is living. Due to the intimate relationship between the body, due to the intimate relationship between the soul and the body is important and dear to everyone. And as stated above, it's also dear to Lord Krishna. Similarly, the soul, being part and parcel of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very dear to all living entities. Unfortunately, the soul forgets his constitutional position and thinks he is only the body, Dahatma Buddhi. Thus, the soul subjected to the rules and regulations of material nature. When the living entity, by his intelligence, reawakens his attraction for Krishna, he can understand that he is not the body, but part and parcel of Krishna. And thus, filled with knowledge, he no longer labors under the attachment of the body and everything related to the body. Janasha mohoyam aham mameti. That's in the Srimad Bhagavatam 558. Material existence within one thinks, I am the body, this belongs to me, is also illusory. One must redirect his attraction to Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam states, 127 states, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janyate Asha Vigragyam Janmayeyad Ahutikam. By rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately requires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Beautiful purport. Another wonderful purport by his disciples. So of course, Sukadeva is answering questions throughout the Bhagavatam by Maharaj Parikshit, who we understand has been cursed by to be in 7 days and 7 nights to be leave his body by a snake serpent, by the curse of, it says that a foolish young Brahmin boy of his Gurudev. So Krishna also states in the Bhagavad Gita, Maimasho jiva loke shiva bhuta sanatana aham sahastra indriyani prakriti stani karshati. The living entity in the conditioned world were all eternal parts and parcels, but due to conditioned life, they're struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. And everything starts, I think, with the mind, right? It sits in the mind, and from the mind, whatever desires we have, they become enacted, right? So, so it's clearly said in this purport that there was a thing I wanted to comment on here. It says that while the body is important, there is when we are when our desire is holding us in the material conception of life, so then we have some sufferings, isn't it, in this material world? And Prabhupada always says birth, old age, disease, and death, but he also says adhyatmic. These sufferings are caused by the self, physical challenges, diseases, cancer, so many things. Sufferings of the mind, we become the mind can become disturbed and anxious, and when the mind is disturbed, sometimes it disturbs others, right? So these are adhyatmic. Also, when we have some emotional distress, so the mind can be like it's described in the Bhagavad Gita, it can be the best friend or the enemy as well. And so we strive to control the mind through the right means, which is association, chanting the holy name, and rendering devotional service, serving the devotees. Krishna says, I'm more pleased when my devotees are served than when I am served directly. So that's something we have to really imbibe, how we can have loving exchanges with the devotees, serve the devotees. Even just a smile, how are you? Instead of walking by in an impersonal way, touching the heart of the devotees is very, very important. So, Prabhupada, it's interesting because Prabhupada in many of his purports, what does he say? You're not this body. You're not this body. How many classes, purports has he said this? However, he says in this purport, the body has value. Why? Because the soul is present within that body. And that makes it glorious. And that means that, so even though we may sit, we may lecture, and we say we're not this body, but our activities make us realize, oh, we are this body, right? We are. We can sit here and say we're not this body, and Prabhupada drilled that home more than anything, constantly, especially in his original classes. You know, I listened to, when I dressed my deities, I listened to the classes from 65, 66 in New York. They're powerful classes, and he drives that point home over and over again. However, it's very important in this purport that it says that the body, we take care of the body because the soul is present within that body, right? And Prabhupada gives a beautiful analogy in that regard. He compares, often he gives the analogy of, he compares the body to a motor car, a machine, right? Or a machine. And we have that picture in the Bhagavad Gita when the soul, the analogy of the horse and the soul and the senses, etc., and the driver is bewildered, being pulled by all of his senses, right? So here, that analogy Prabhupada gave was so sweet. To a motor car machine, and as long as the soul is the driver, the living force is present, it's valuable. But at once the soul leaves, the body is, and all of its attachments are finished. And I was hearing a class, I think it was Radhanath Maharaj, that said when the body leaves, that the chemicals that are in the body are worth maybe 13 or 14 paisa, it said. So not much. So, but nonetheless, you know, we have this, we're grounded in this body since time immemorial. So by the grace of the previous acharyas, by our guru, by Srila Prabhupada, we can understand how to perfect this body that we've been given in this lifetime. You know, we've been traversing through so many different bodies. Somehow we have this body in this lifetime, and the perfection of that body is to ignite that soul in bhakti. Yeah. So, you know, there are many verses where Prabhupada says that, you know, I just highlighted a few in the Bhagavad Gita. This is 14:4. It says, "It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving Father." So, also text 7, all of the material, all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and dissolution. So these are just reiterating that, you know, everything comes from Krishna. Everything comes from Krishna. He says, "O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread." I love that verse. And then in chapter 10, verse 8, 10:8, "I am the source of this all spiritual material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise know perfectly this and engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts." So, you know, we have our attachments. We have our children that we're trying to bring up in Krishna consciousness. We have our grandchildren. I have 5, 6, and one more on the way. So I'll have 7 grandchildren. So what can we do? We have to somehow or another give them Krishna consciousness somehow or another, you know, and I figured out ways to attract these little guys, Krishna consciousness. So that's very nice. And, you know, again, you know, because Prabhupada says again and again, we're not this body, because of the value of the body, because the soul is present within this body. It has value. It has so much value because it enables us to realize that which is temporary dwindles, but that which is eternal, the soul goes on. And the perfection of our life is to, and I remember I meet many people in the temple and I ask them, what are you doing? You know, tell me about yourself. And they'll tell me about their job or their career or their family or whatever. And I always say that, yes, this is your dharma. You're doing your duty. You're working in this world. And Prabhupada says in some of the purports in the Bhagavad Gita, you must work. You can't give up your work whimsically. You work honorably. You give the results to Krishna. And simultaneously, I always tell people, you have to add that spirituality into your life. And that, because that carries you, that goes with you. Your bank balance doesn't go. Your children, everything we're attached to, we have to leave behind when we leave this body. And so, if we cultivate our spiritual life along with what our dharma is doing to keep body and soul, family together, this is the perfection of life, really. So. So there's a couple of examples, that I wanted to reference about the unlimited desires that many have. So we give the example of Hiranyakashipu, for example. So he performed incredible austerities, right? On the tips of his toes, covered with an anthill, disrupting the entire universe. The demigods were freaking out. Everyone, the fire emanating from his body was so intense. And then he went to Lord Brahma, as we know, and he asked for a boon. I want to be eternal. And of course, Lord Brahma says, even I'm not eternal. But he gives him the benediction, within, without, so many benedictions he gives him. But what was his desire? His desire was to enjoy. That's why he performed. He wanted to enjoy his kingdom. He wanted to enjoy his sovereignty over the three worlds. He wanted to enjoy his wives. His haranya means soft bed, gold. He wanted all of these things. That's what his desire was. But ultimately, the Supreme Lord came in the form of Lord Nrsimhadev and killed him. So he met his death. He had to give up everything, but he had that strong desire, right? We also have the example in the another beautiful example of desire that is a beautiful desire, the perfection of desire, and that's about Vasudev Datta, who's referenced in the CC. I think it's Madhya 165 maybe. But anyway, Madhya Leela 15:165, he says, let all the sins of everyone fall on me. Let me take their sins. So, please, Lord, let me take their sins upon me. And what an incredibly beautiful desire. This is the perfection of desire. And Lord Chaitanya, he's such a great devotee, such a pure devotee. Lord Chaitanya, with tears in his eyes, said, you are an incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. You have that same mood of surrendering everything and accepting. This is the perfection of desires. Then we have another example of Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur, what was his desire? His desire was to chant so many lakhs of rounds, so many thousands of rounds every day, some loud, some soft, and some even silent. But his compassion knew no bounds when they lured this prostitute to him, right, to try and distract him from his desire to please the Lord, to chant the Lord's holy name. And what did he say? Just wait here. When I'm finished, I will attend to you. On he goes. And ultimately, by his compassion, what happens? She becomes a a pure devotee of the Lord by the desire of Haridas Thakur. This is the perfection of desire, right? So, anyway, Radhanath Maharaj, I was listening to this little class, and His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj gave an example about Shruti Kirti, and how Shruti Kirti asked, what would you say, Srila Prabhupada, is Krishna consciousness in one word? And what was his word? Desire. Prabhupada said, desire. So we can have unlimited desires. I remember my spiritual master gave a class. It was a Sunday feast lecture. And he said, in this room, there are so many hundreds of devotees, and each one represents hundreds of desires. So many desires we all have, right? They're not all perfectly spiritual sometimes, right? That's what we pray for, and that's what we strive for, right? So it was quite interesting that he said desire. So we have to orchestrate our life to perfect our desires, because everything is really based on desire. It truly is. It's quite amazing, because there's so much material advantage. That's why so many Indians have come to this country. They've for years and years migrated here because it's a better life. It is a better life, in a sense. You have better facility, better roads, better health care, better everything here, right? But, old lectures of Gurudev was encouraging all the devotees in their home, Indian devotees, to take up this Krishna consciousness movement. Don't take it cheaply. On and on, he would say, and just see what has happened since these were lectures in the 80s, early 90s. So many wonderful Indian devotees from India had become glorious devotees of the Lord, initiated devotees. They can give far more scholarly and erudite classes than my humble self. Beautiful devotees. And we have Bhakti Vriksha all over where anyone can plug in into the homes. This was something actually His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj started many, it was called Namahat, right? And that's what it is, having all these programs programs in the whole. So our real welfare work then is to perfect our desires, uplift not only our desires to become spiritual desires, but try and uplift others by our words, by our singing and chanting, by our distributing Prabhupada's books. You can really touch a heart. And so there was this program organized this past Saturday by the Krishna House on White Rock Lake. So, there was a big table set up, and I don't know who it was, if it was, maybe it was Prabhupada Priya, someone, or maybe it was Lakshmi Priya. Someone made all these cookies, these wonderful cookies. Huh? Kunti, did you make all those cookies? Draupadi made all those cookies. Amazing cookies. So, but when I saw all these cookies, I thought, well, no one has gloves, right? I had restaurant in Denver, restaurant in Puerto Rico. We always wore gloves when you served out. So no one had gloves, and so they were handing these cookies and no one was taking them. So Chakri Prabhu brought these little bags that we put a whole bunch of cookies in, and then Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu went to the market, got more bags, gloves, and so I put them all in these little bags, and I put that little flyer of Jagannath for the Rath Yatra in them, and walked all around, and I thought, well, I'm going to bring dessert to all the people eating lunch at the park, And that's what I did. And it was just a very beautiful thing. I said, I have lunch for you. And it was so there's very simple ways that you can touch a soul, right? Very simple ways. And so that's what we want to do. We want to uplift ourselves. We want to transform our heart. And so by transforming our heart, we can transform the hearts of others. Yes. So there's something that it says compassion. Compassionate devotees who are objects of Krishna's mercy. And that's where it comes from. It comes from Guru and Krishna. If we think that we can do anything on our own, we are fool number one. It is all dependent on the mercy of our spiritual master. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who that was Prabhupada's mission, to spread the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the holy name. And Krishna, as described in this verse, he's so merciful. He descends so that we can be captive, enraptured by his amazing spiritual pastimes and caught up in his leelas and the examples that he gives to us, right? And then in the end, he says, just surrender unto me. And that was a tall order. And so what happens? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes and he teaches us exactly how to surrender to the Lord. How to, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he comes in this golden color to teach us how we can fully absorb ourselves. And this is from Harinam. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevala kalunasteva nasteva nasteva gatiranyata. 3 times. There's no other way but chanting the holy name. So we go out, we go everywhere. I mean, I've been giving putting little Jagannath in neighbors. I live down the street in their mailboxes, so they'll know and come with their children. So there's many ways. So by satisfying great souls, one receives so many blessings and success in one's endeavors. So this is a vital point. We have to satisfy these great souls, and there are countless great souls in our movement and in the history of our parampara. We have to satisfy these great souls somehow or another by our purifying our heart and by giving that love, that bhakti lata, that bhakti to everyone, right? So the success of one's endeavors, and by not satisfying those, one receives the opposite, right? You will receive the opposite. If you don't satisfy these great souls and the spiritual master and Krishna, then you get the opposite. You can experience the wrath of God. He can purify you of any anarthas or offenses. And there's many ways. Sometimes people say when calamities come, why me? Why me? Why am I deserving? And if we're humble, we can understand that I know for myself, just in this lifetime, as a crazy hippie girl, how many offenses I committed in this lifetime. I'm not some of you glorious devotees who were brought up and your mother taught you how to cook perfect chapatis and play the harmonium perfectly. No, I was not so fortunate like so many of you that are from India, that were trained up from birth so nicely. No, I was a rascal in this lifetime. And then when we think about the sins that we've accumulated from time immemorial, then we don't say, why me? We say, yes, I am deserving. And please, my spiritual master, I am fallen. But you have the power to lift me up. And I have that shraddha, I have that faith that with Guru and Krishna, he can lift us up. Even if we slip and fall, he can lift us up. So, anyway, that's kind of a little bit of what I've discussed. I think I talked about Adhyatmic. I didn't talk about adibodhic, which is suffering from other living beings. We know that there's sufferings that come in many different ways from other different beings, not only from like mosquitoes or cockroaches or hornets, but it can be from other living beings that create anxiety in us. Maybe a mother-in-law that's very intense, or these conflicts can happen within the family. Yeah, it can happen between friends, right? So this is adibodhic, and adidivic, of course, are sufferings from the devas in the form of pestilence, drought. It's too hot, it's too cold. Wars, we're experiencing that right now with these hellish wars that are impacting us all over the world, right? Gas prices have soared, right? This is a suffering when you have to go to the gas pump. So many, and as a result, when we go to the markets, everything is up, up, up. This is the result of divine supernatural intervention, right? So we can only, again, pray to our spiritual masters, to Parampara, that somehow or another, let me see these disasters, these catastrophes, these challenges that come upon us. Let us pray that we can remain fixed in the course that we tread, and honor our spiritual master, glorify Krishna. Look at Srimati Radharani ki jai, Radhakala Chanji ki jai. So what a darshan. So every day it's like windows into the spiritual world, right? Just so ecstatic. So I pray for your blessings. This is a little bit of what I've put together for this class, and I'd like to know if anyone has any corrections, commentary, additions. My Prabhu. Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Mother Nandini, I just want to mention one thing. We'll save the best for last. Your class is very pure.
Oh, Prabhu.
You stay to the purport. At first I was kind of thinking, well, just read the purport verbatim, but then I see how you actually kind of paraphrase, and it really helps us digest the meaning. So thank you for that. And also, I was looking in the hallway the other day, and at the very first mural of Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Rath Yatra, and you look up and you see the gorgeous caption, and then you see the Nandini Prabhu's family, and I'm like, she's permanent part of this temple. So regardless of how fallen or whatever, I was telling Prabhu here, Tulsi Saki, if you're calling yourself fallen, I'm way more. So please keep blazing the trail.
No,
Jai.
thank you. Yes, actually, Srila Gurudev really liked that we said Kartikeya, Nandini, Jai Ram, and Keshava. He want all of our children were there, and he really liked that a lot. I remember. Thank you, Kunti David. Hi, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mata, I just wanted to say thank you for being such a good example. When you speak, there is so much of sincerity, and I was just thinking, I wish I was like you. I hope I can become like you one day. So thank you for being such a good example. Being, you should always speak according to your adhikar, and I think you come down a little bit just to speak to at our level. Prabhu, thank you.
I've heard your classes; they're amazing. Thank you, Prabhu. You're very kind.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
All praise to Guru and Gauranga.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any other comments? Tulsi Saki.
Hi Krishna Mother Nandini, thank you for giving class, and beautiful class, as everybody's saying. You speak from your realizations, and especially these points about how we should try to preserve the body and how to use it in Krishna's service. We've seen you go through so much, and then you go through so much suffering, and then you come back to your service, and you come back to giving class. So that's proof of how you're actually living these instructions. So thank you for such a nice example that you're setting for us in the community, to be not lax in attending to how to take care of the body and use it in Krishna's service. Jai Jai.
Thank you very much. So I thank you, Tulsi Saki. So I just wanted to say that so I am continuing to have certain health challenges, and that's just part of being in these bodies. But I just wanted to say that even though I don't come all the time here, I listen to class every single day and comment, and take darshan. We come usually later on at around 4 to take darshan of the Lord. So we have our Giriraj, Gauri Sham that we worship every day, and Gornatai, do full artik every day, chant and sing morning and night. So they are the perfection of our life also. So I post their pictures sometime of when I dress them, because they're just so blissful. That little Giriraj Gauri Sham is really blissful. Sometimes he has been, you may have seen him, he sits on the altar many years for Abhishek, and on the appearance of Govardhan Hill, he gets bathed on the altar, and then he sits on the top of Govardhan Hill. He's just a beaming, and I don't know if you remember, if you were in Denver, Tulsi Saki, but in Denver also, he would be on the altar bathed and on Govardhan Hill. And I remember Tusta Krishna, who's the temple president there, he said, well, you should keep Giriraj so he could spend the night with the Giriraj that's on the altar. So I said, okay. And there was a candle in front of each of them, and he sent me a message, and he said, tucking in darshan. It was very sweet. So, Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpachurvascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Prabhu?
Thank you for, as always, heart-touching class, Mataji. So today when you were reading the purports where Prabhupada says somebody cares for the family because they have that, they think first they care for themselves, and that's the reason they care for their family. Actually, for past few years, I had this thought in my mind, do I care for my family because it hurts me if they're not happy? Maybe that's why. Is it selfless, or it's because it makes me happy when they are happy, and when they're sad, it makes me sad. That's why I care. So I think this kind of reinforces what I was thinking, that Prabhupada is telling, yes, that's true. And we always keep hearing mother's love is selfless, right? But I think I also keep thinking, do I care for my kids because it makes me happy? Or if I didn't have that connection with them, I wouldn't care. So what are your thoughts?
Right. Well, you have 2 wonderful children that attend the Bhagavatam class every day. They chant beautiful Sanskrit, both of these children. So any mother would feel very blessed to have such children. And if they're sad, I think I've always felt as a mother, I like to hear what's happening. If you are sad, what has made you sad? Talk to me, so I can understand. So the mother is the ocean of mercy. Actually, Prabhupada says, as you know, that the love that the mother has for their children, the love that the mother holds, is as close to the love of Krishna. It's that same mood of complete, even when they're babies, right? They can make a mess. You clean their diapers, whatever it is. It's completely selfless. So I don't know if that.
But based on this purport, we love ourselves more than, that's why we love others. And mother has that emotional connection which makes the mother sad if the baby is sad. So it's kind of contradictory, right? How can it be selfless? Because
How can it be selfless? Because you're saying we love ourselves more than we love our children. Is that your point, or
no,
no?
I mean, because we have that connection with the child, right? For example, there is a homeless child who is suffering, right?
Right.
We wouldn't care for the homeless child the same way as we would care for our own child.
Right.
We care for our own child because we have that emotional connection.
Yeah.
So that is in line with this purport, which says we love ourselves more than others. That's why we
Yes.
care for our family, because it hurts us when our family is not happy.
Right.
But then we also hear Prabhupada says that mother's love is the topmost we can see in this world. So they both are kind of contradictory, right? So I'm just trying to understand how to
Right.
reconcile, if you have any thoughts.
Right. Well, I personally, I don't see such a contradiction because, the idea is that why do we not love ourselves? Or do we love ourselves because Krishna, the super soul, is sitting within the heart? We're not just loving our body or we're actually feeling, wow, this is beside my soul. Krishna is sitting right beside my soul. So I don't really particularly see much of a contradiction. I think that I don't know. Maybe I'm missing it, but I don't see such a contradiction. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I have 4 children, and I've come to the realization is that they're not my children, they're Krishna's children. And I have to raise them for Krishna's pleasure, because our attachments can lead us into a lot of sadness too, because obviously they won't be healthy forever, we won't be healthy forever, the separation will happen. So I feel we raise them for Krishna's pleasure, then we're happy, Krishna's happy, kids are happy.
Yes,
So
I agree. That's my goal with my, 5, going to be 6 grandkids, to somehow, give them Krishna, whatever I can. Prabhu.
In the Nectar of Instruction, Srila Prabhupada explains that because of our billions of lives, how many lives we can have so many different impressions of the mind.
Yes.
And this is a psychological phenomenon, right? And so when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, we have different impressions that are pushing on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so the understanding that we can't take shelter of the mind. So the mind will come up with questions like this that distract us from our service.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like the question, why am I here on this material world? And Srila Prabhupada says that's not the right question. Let's ask, how do we get out of here?
Right.
So I encourage that when we think of questions like this, the mind likes to play in this speculation and like understanding, but really we're encouraged to, how do we purify our service to please Krishna? And so if we recognize that the mind's playing these games and saying, hey, I appreciate you,
Smack.
yeah, but let's go. Let's think about how do we serve Srila Prabhupada by raising our children in a nice way to make them Krishna conscious, and then we
Right.
can use our energy in a way that we can actually make some benefit for ourselves and for others.
Yeah.
That's one thought that I was.
No, it's a beautiful thought. Thank you very much. Yes, even the mind can pull us when we're chanting the holy name, right? So I follow Satchidanand Swami online, and he's just such an amazing, wonderful soul. But he always says, he says breathe, which I do before I start to chant. Breathe. He says, take 3 deep breaths, close your eyes, and then just breathe. Put your hands on your heart, breathe naturally, softly, and then begin to chant. He doesn't say sway back and forth. And sometimes, I remember there was a devotee, he was going to visit here, Drishta Prabhu. He was the head of the Gurukula here for many, many years, the headmaster. And he used to chant like this. And one time he fell asleep and then fell right off the seat onto the floor. So we need to, focus our mind on the holy name. And that was some examples that His Holiness Satchidananda Swami gave that I try to imbibe. And, the mind wanders. We have a little bhajan kutir, beautiful little temple room, a private separate space at home. It's a sacred space. And I usually read a little bit from Bhagavad Gita after I breathe and chant, and it's a process, isn't it? Because the mind it's more difficult to control the raging wind, so we have to always pull that mind back so we can focus on the holy name. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. The mind can play tricks. We can get stuck in the mind very easily. We want to avoid that trap as much as possible. Well, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Again, Vanchakalpatrivascha Kripasindhivebhajcha Patitam Pavanebhyo. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Antakoti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Radha Kalachandi Radha Kalachandi Radhe Kalachandi. So always when I address the deities or